Welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader. And before we dive into talking about our series, I want to thank you all so much. We hit our 1 year mark on April 17th. I completely forgot. Shame on me. I just want to thank you all so much for your support, for rocking with me. We're growing. We'll continue to grow. And here's to many more years of giving you explicit and beautiful stories of the erotic fiction world. We are diving back into our Explicitly Yours series by Jessica Hawkins. If you have not already listened to the first two books in the series, which is Possession and Domination, those two books, their links are going to be listed in the description section below. Once you listen to those book reviews, come and join us as we dive into the third book in this series, which is called Provocation. With this book, it does a lot of present and past with this one. And it's a small time frame. It's probably like a 3-week time frame that they're doing the back and forth with. When you're reading it, it's fine. You totally understand what's going on, but I don't want to confuse it doing the review. So we're just kind of going to take it from present where we left off and just kind of move it from there. So Lola's left, and Beau, of course, is thinking about everything that just happened with that explosive fight. And then he also thinks okay, he needs to call Warner and tell him to wait for her after she's talked with Johnny. But then he kind of goes, well, what if she doesn't leave Johnny? He's starting to freak out a little bit. But then he has to also think, what am I doing? We're done. There's nothing beyond this. There's nothing to look forward to. So I need to stop. I've conquered it, and this should be it. Lola walks out of the building, aka the hotel, and she sees Warner, and he's adjusting his tie, but it's still crooked. So I'm like, ooh, what was he up to? He tells her, I'm supposed to take you home and I'm supposed to wait for you. And she tells him basically, fuck off, and to tell his boss the same thing. And then she heads off walking back to her place, which is apparently maybe 2 miles away from the Four Seasons, and she's carrying 500 grand. She doesn't even take a cab, which to me is weird because it's according to her, she's saying the money is heavy, and I'm like, you gonna walk home? Oh my gosh. Beau goes to his meeting later that morning with Mayor Churchill, and he even tries to see if he can get the interest of the woman at the receptionist desk. And the woman has pale skin, dark hair, like Lola. But she wasn't, and just like Lola, she wasn't paying him any attention. So then he, of course, starts trying to get her to talk to him and, find out, why she was working for him. And come to find out, she's super passionate about the work that the mayor does and the changes that he wants to make to the city of Los Angeles. And we find out she wanted to be a teacher. But after listening to the mayor, it kind of changed the course of what she wanted to do. So then you kind of see, he kind of looks like, I just want to conquer, because you have no interest in this woman, but because she didn't pay you any attention, you have this issue where if someone doesn't pay you attention, it's then you need their attention. So I'm he has issues. Then comes out Mayor Churchill, and of course he asks about Lola. And he asked him, also questions about the conference that he apparently sponsors that helps young entrepreneurs not go through the same thing that he went through. So when he first sold his company, he sold it for a great amount of money, but he didn't do his due diligence, I guess, with the research of what that other company was going to do with it. And they kind of destroyed the product. And so he kind of wants to help make sure people don't go through that again. And the mayor was kind of why don't you push and talk about this? But he does that not for any type of recognition. It's just to help others not go through that. And see, there's the conflict with him. See, he has a nice side to him, but then he's out here trying to conquer people, so he has these issues. He's so freaking complicated. So the mayor brings it back around to Lola, and Beau's honest. He tells him, we're not together anymore, and, I messed up. And the mayor just tells him, if she's anything like my wife, she's going to be worth fighting for. And then Beau kind of just starts thinking, like, you know what? Like, maybe the goal I set wasn't the real win. So Lola gets home, and her and Johnny have it out. He thinks because she looks a wreck and she's shaking that she's high. And she realizes that he still sees her as that 18-year-old girl. So a lot of truths were admitted during this conversation. He admitted to knowing that he felt like she wanted to do it that second time, and her letting him know like how fucked up that is, that you were willing to risk it in the first place. And he admits that he let Amanda suck his dick the night before, and she was just like, oh, and he had the nerve to say that he was lonely and needed someone. I was like, I'm done. So this girl is going to do this to get you all money for your pipe dream, right? And you got lonely and needed someone. If I've ever wanted to reach through a book and just strangle a character, it is Johnny. I promise you it is Johnny. I cannot stand that individual. Jessica did a great job writing this character because she makes you feel very strong feelings for these characters. She did her job. That is for sure. Then Johnny, like, he wanted to know details. He's like, I want to know, let's just have it all out. Let's just put it all out on the table. And he wanted details about what they did. And she said everything. Everything he wanted, I gave it to him. She was like, my mouth, my pussy, she said everything. Johnny lost it because he was like, no, you wouldn't even let me get your ass. And I'm like, hell, you couldn't even finger her correctly in her ass. Like, why would she ever let you put your dick there? Like, you literally suck as an individual. And sexually. Like, he's not even a shitty, it's like, it could be a shitty person, but they have great sex, but he's not even that. He's a shitty person with shitty sex, Ugh, I tell you. So they're doing their back and forth, and she basically lets him know we're done. She took the other $500,000. Remember that Beau had left on the table? She took that money, and basically what was in the account was the other $1 million. So he could have that. She was going to take her half, and she was done. And he, of course, was like, no, I love you. And da-da-da. But I don't believe it's love at all. She even said to him, I don't think I was ever really in love with you. I think I loved you. And I loved you for taking a chance on me, but I don't think I ever was truly in love with you. And it's the truth. She wasn't. It's that savior complex I think she had. That was pretty much what it was. And he was stupid, and he ruined it. That's just that. So he, of course, was like, I love you, don't leave, and all this type of crap. But she was done. She just took the money, and she left, and she didn't look back. And she made the comment, for once, she didn't care how he took it. She didn't care about his feelings because she realized she had just lived 9 years of her life worrying about how it would affect Johnny. And she was done. Beau runs into the receptionist, Heather, at the hotel. Her things fall. And then he asks her out, for a drink later in the lounge. Because his brain is kind of thinking like, you know what? Like, he needs a fuck, and she's more than willing, right? So he made the offer to her, and then he took it back when he thought he saw Lola. So he goes to the car to meet Brigitte Warner's the driver, of course. And on the way to the event, Brigitte, she wants the details of what happened. And she lets him know, this is our victory. And of course, he's like, you didn't see what I did to her. And Brigitte was just kind of like, you can't still want her because, if you do, then she's the one that has the power over you. And so then she tells him, you can never get her back after what you did. She can't be bought. And he knows he has to at least try his hardest to try and get her back. So we find out that was the Lola he saw because she booked a room at that same Four Seasons on the 11th floor. So she gets in her room. She downs some drinks from the mini bar. She gets a little wasted. She called Hey Joe's. Thought it was Johnny she was talking to, but it wasn't. It was like some home number. She was telling the guy, why did you cheat? And that, she never thought that he would do that type of thing. And then she tells him that, she fell for Beau and that he crushed her. But again, this has all been to a stranger because she called the wrong number. So then, of course, she starts thinking about Beau and the fact that he needs to pay for what he did to her. So Beau leaves the event. It was successful. It was a successful networking event. He was distracted, even mixed up a couple names. But Brigitte was on point. She charmed everyone like she normally does. Beau is the only one that's driven back to the hotel by Warner. And, Warner kept asking him about, how was Brigitte? So I think clearly something's going on between the two of them. Because apparently this is not Warner's normal MO. He's normally just kind of like gets in the car, takes you where you need to go. Very minimal type of conversation. So him asking about, is she okay? Or, something's up with that. Beau's back at the Four Seasons. An employee comes up to him and tells him there's a woman waiting for you. So at first he thought it was the Heather girl, but something told him it wasn't. Because the employee even made the comment, the woman, she's been waiting here for a while, and a lot of men have been trying to approach her. And so he said this to Beau after initially Beau being like, just tell him no. Of course, then Beau's like, maybe I need to go over here. So then Lola is at the Four Seasons, and we're going to kind of do a little backup before this meetup. She gets a little bombed from that mini bar, passes out. She takes a shower, gets dressed in this like beautiful white dress, and goes down to the lounge, talks to the bartender. They have a nice little chit chat, and then in walks Beau. And Beau goes to the lounge, and he does see Lola. So, Lola was the person that, of course, was waiting for him. But he says to her, what are you doing here? Beau has a back and forth with the bartender, Sean, because at first the guy was kind of like, he wasn't really scared of Beau. Like, he was kind of giving him lip. And Beau pretty much was like, do you know who I am? And he gave his last name. And then the guy completely changed his tune. So she tells the guy, she tells Beau, I'm sorry and that I shouldn't have left. He, of course, is shocked because that's not what he expected her to say. And she tells him that she did leave Johnny and that Johnny had cheated on her, but that wasn't the real reason why she ended it with him. So he basically told her the whole rundown of the scheme. So the Hank guy who made that offer on the place actually works for Beau. So this whole gig was a setup from the beginning. So I was wrong because I thought that Mitch was lying about that price, but no, he wasn't. And then basically he didn't expect to fall like he did, and honestly doesn't know what to do because he knows he isn't done with her, but he also doesn't have a plan. Beau always has a plan. So this is what's throwing him. So he asked her to go up to his room. She says, you must be crazy. But she eventually agrees, and she tells him that she'll go, but he can't touch her, and she comes to him. And so he agrees to this because he's desperate to be around her and to have her near. And so they go to the elevator, and he, before she had made the comment about you not being able to touch me, he looks down and sees that she had never hit the 11th floor. She had hit the 16th from the beginning. So before he even made a statement, before she made her statement, she had hit the 16th floor. So she was preparing to go anyway without these stipulations. So he told her that she could go in the guest bedroom. So she goes in there. Of course, she can't sleep. She goes to his room. He, of course, is like, what are you doing? She says, I can't sleep. And he's like, what do you want me to do? Sing you a lullaby? But he's like pulling her in the bed, and he starts kissing her. And she's like, you promised. And so he's like, well, you came to my bed. Like, what do you expect me to do after everything we've done to each other in this bed? So he pulls back, and she says, she's worried about him changing his mind. And he was like, I'm not going to change my mind about anything. And she realizes, like, oh, yeah, she does have some power over him. And she likes having that power. Beau wakes up and decides that he's going to bring Lola home with him. And so while Lola's sleeping, he goes and he calls Brigitte. He tells her that he's moving back in and she's going to have to get her own place. He tells her, he's going to have a real estate agent help her, get a place. But she goes on this whole rant about, you're throwing me out on the street. And then her complaint about all you do is throw money at me and you don't spend any time with me. And just kind of goes all off the rails about everything. And he kind of snaps and tells her, I'm not your boyfriend. Find someone to do that stuff with you. That's not what I'm here for. I give you money. That's it. And he hangs up the phone. So, and he told her, well, before he hung up the phone, he said, start packing your stuff. Because, no, I'm lying. He didn't say it on the phone. He texted her after he hung up. And he said, start packing your stuff because arrangements will be made tomorrow. I'm like, dang. So Lola gets up, goes to the balcony, and tells him, what she's thinking and how she was willing to give up everything just because she thought he was safe. And he tells her that, she is safe with him and that he'll do whatever it's necessary to get her trust back. And then he tells her that, they'll be going home, aka his place, in a couple days. He asked her, why she walked all the way home. And she said, I just need to be alone. And he told her, that's insane. And it drove him crazy that she was alone, especially after what had happened at the gas station. And he tells her that, he's getting her a temporary credit card and she's going to be depositing that money on Monday morning. So we're going to fast forward a couple of weeks. And tonight is the night that she's going to give in to Beau. So within these past couple of weeks, she had, gone out pretty much every day. And, she has his credit card. He wants her to spend money, buy nice things. So she has had to, kind of get a routine going because she's trying to get him to trust her. Because remember, old girl said it's payback time, right? So she's planned this elaborate night. She's gone and got some nice, sexy black lingerie covered in these small Swarovski crystals, which really shine when the light hits it. She has the black cat ears, which are like the ones that she wore on the first night that they met at Cat Shop when she was a stripper. She has this black trench coat that she's going to wear over her lingerie with nothing else. So they go to dinner. And he's super impatient because he's just pretty much like, he's just trying to pounce on her. And because he's like, we don't need to eat. We could just stay in, like, But she's like, no, I planned this. This is important. This is a real change in direction for us. No, this is important to me, right? So they order their dinner. He's about to tell her that he loves her, but she stops him. She starts coughing. And she puts food in her mouth. And of course, he's thinking in his head, like, I'm not going to say that to her. And she's like stuffing her face. So it worked. So then she gives him a present. And it's the black cat ears. And she told him that she was going to dance for him. He's like, you can dance for me tomorrow. He's like, tonight I need to fuck you. And so she tells him, again, I've taken a lot of time to arrange this. Don't mess this up. So they are now on their way to Cat Shop. They get to Cat Shop and go to the VIP room. She dances for him, gets him all worked up. She even tells him to call her Melody, which that is actually her real first name. It's not Lola. Lola's a nickname that her dad gave her before he left. At first she's like, no touchy, and then she gets to a point to where she's asking him to touch her, and then that's when security comes in and yanks him up to get out, because remember, in the VIP room they can't touch. So he's yelling, she's my girlfriend, and the guys are like, we don't care, you gotta go. And then Lola tells him to just wait for her outside. He doesn't want to do it, but eventually he does. So she slips out back with some help from like a former coworker, and she puts the cat ears and a smile with the lipstick on the windshield on his car, because she could kind of do it without him seeing her. And he, of course, keeps screaming, to let Lola out. And they tell him over and over, she's not in there. So the owner finally comes out and tells him that Lola was there earlier, and that's all he can say, and tells him he needs, to speak with Lola. So Beau doesn't know, but Lola, again, this was part of the couple of, like, the preparation she'd done the last couple of weeks. So she had gone to Cat Shop and she had paid them. They've already been paid for this stuff, right? That basically, I need that VIP room, and when he touches me, I need you all to come in and get him. So she paid for this to happen. So one other thing, before, like on their way to Cat Shop, they were having this conversation, and she had said to him about, if I wish we could have met, when you weren't a customer. And he was just kind of like, what? And she was like, because I liked you. But because of how we met, it was just kind of like, how do you ever change that dynamic, right? So it's kind of like, I knew I couldn't have you. So it was like, that was her thing, and why she was saying to him, you can't buy me this and that. And she was letting him know. She also said, if you had to just come back and talk to me, I would have talked to you. Like, if you had come back after my shift or whatever, like, I would have talked to you. And he realizes, like, oh shit, he's felt even more like a dick, because it was like, you did all of this as some revenge plot because you felt like someone made you not feel worthy, right? You had made this money, and that was supposed to give you value, and you felt like she kind of took that value away from you, and didn't even think of it from her perspective, right? Didn't even think of the fact that this is a possibility. She might like me, and if I give her this money, it changes the dynamic. Now it's like we're just tricking with each other. And he felt like such an idiot, and he should have. And that kind of irks me with him as well. And clearly we see him and Johnny have a complex about money. They tie their worth, literally, of who they are to money. And she doesn't do that, but because he's so used to people needing stuff from him, Beau, it's like, that's what it's always going to come down to money, and not realizing, no, you actually could have had something real with her. So she has left these cat ears, I'm going to say bunny ears, these cat ears, and the lipstick that she was wearing, and she puts a smiley face on the windshield. After the owner tells him, basically, you need to go talk to Lola, he goes yelling around behind the building. She's gone. I can't remember if she had already bought a car or if she borrowed one of her friend's cars. I think she might have bought one. But she's gone. Lola has headed out of town. She's done with LA. Okay? We don't know where she's going, but she has dipped. So he's now running behind where she was before in the back of the building, yelling for her. He's thinking someone could have kidnapped her. What if it was someone that he took over their business? And what if this is payback? Like, he's whole ass panicking, thinking someone has taken her, because his brain is not going to process like that she just played me, right? So he gets back to his car. He looks in the car. He sees the present that she left, but he's still like, something must have happened to her, right? So he calls Warner, and it goes to voicemail. He leaves a message. Warner calls him back. He's with Brigitte. Warner, of course, is like, no, I haven't heard from her. And so Beau goes to his home. Warner and Brigitte meet him there back at the house. And Brigitte finally tells him after he told, because she was like, tell me everything that happened, because she was kind of thinking like, I think she just played him, So she has him go through everything that happened. And she told him, you really hurt her. For her to go to these lengths, oh, you really did a number on her. So Lola, she went, checked the closet. Lola's left all the clothes that he had bought for her, but she had taken her passport. That's when he realizes she fucking left. This was a setup, and she has fucking left me, right? He loses it. He's throwing stuff. He hurt himself, his hand. And then he tries to kick out Brigitte, but both Brigitte and Warner, like, they'll leave the office that they're in, but they won't leave the house because he doesn't need to be by himself. Not when he's acting like this, So he's having a drink, and he calls a retired detective named Bragg to find her. He doesn't have much information. He tells him all the information that he has. He doesn't know what he wants to do with her when he finds her, but Beau's like, I will find her. And so that is how this book ends. Oh my gosh. The next and the last book in this series is called Obsession. And so we're going to dive into that one next week. This was crazy, but it's like, okay, I do think he probably does love her, but it's like he keeps needing these like goals, these things to conquer. So it feels like she's now missing. I've got to find her. There's another goal. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something I need to conquer. I got to find her. But you don't even know what you really want with her when you find her. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just so crazy. So we'll wrap up this series next week. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below in the discussion board. Let me know. If you are in the market for a beautiful notebook, I do have those available for you, and that link will also be down in the description section below. As always, I truly do thank you all for your support, and thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.